The Invisible Thread. Chapter 1. The Question That Changes Everything. Maya stared at her reflection in the bathroom mirror, mascara smudged beneath tired eyes. The office party downstairs buzzed with laughter and congratulations, all for someone else. Again, why are you not appreciated? The question hung in the air like smoke. She hadn't realized she'd spoken it aloud until her reflection seemed to answer back with the same bewildered expression. 3 years. 3 years of staying late, fixing other people's mistakes, being the reliable one. And tonight, watching Derek accept the promotion she'd earned, she finally understood. Being indispensable had made her invisible. Her phone buzzed. A text from her sister. How did the announcement go? Maya's fingers hovered over the keyboard. How do you explain that you're so good at your job that everyone assumes the work just happens by magic? That being the person who never complains means you're the person who never gets hurt? Derek got it, she typed back. 3 dots appeared immediately. What? That's insane. You basically run that department. Apparently not. Maya set the phone down and really looked at herself. When had she become this person? When had she started accepting crumbs and calling them meals? The bathroom door creaked open. Jennifer from accounting peeked in, already half drunk on champagne and office gossip. Maya, there you are. We missed you at the toast. She swayed slightly. Derek's speech was, well, you know Derek. I can imagine. Jennifer's expression softened. Hey, are you okay? I know you were hoping. I'm fine. The lie came automatically, practiced from years of being fine when she wasn't, helpful when it hurt, understanding when she wanted to scream. You know, Jennifer leaned against the sink. My grandmother used to say something. She said the squeaky wheel gets the grease, but the wheel that keeps everything moving gets forgotten. Maya felt something crack open in her chest. What did she do about it? She learned to squeak. Jennifer grinned. Loudly. After Jennifer left, Maya remained in the bathroom, studying her reflection. She thought about all the times she'd bitten her tongue, swallowed her pride, taken one for the team. She thought about her college roommate Sarah, who demanded recognition and got it. Her brother Tom, who never hesitated to claim credit. Her ex-boyfriend Marcus, who'd somehow made his ambitions everyone else's priority. What made them different? What made them valued while she remained overlooked? Her reflection had no answers, but for the first time in years, Maya was asking the right questions. Chapter 2. The Archaeology of Invisibility. Maya's apartment felt different when she returned that night. The same IKEA furniture, the same stack of work files on her kitchen table, but something fundamental had shifted. She moved through the familiar space like an archaeologist, examining artifacts of her own life with new eyes. The refrigerator was covered with thank you notes from colleagues, certificates from volunteer organizations, photos of other people's celebrations she'd helped organize. Evidence of a life lived in service to everyone except herself. She pulled out a bottle of wine, a good one she'd been saving for someday, and poured a generous glass. Someday was tonight. Her laptop hummed to life, and she found herself typing into a search bar. Why do good employees get overlooked for promotions? The results were predictably generic. Be more visible. Communicate your achievements. Ask for what you want. But Maya had tried those things, hadn't she? She'd sent weekly reports documenting her projects. She'd spoken up in meetings. She'd even directly asked her manager, Patricia, about advancement opportunities. The memory surfaced like a stone skipping across water. Patricia's office, 6 months ago. The conversation that had felt promising at the time, but now revealed its true colors. Maya, you're such a valuable team player. I honestly don't know what we'd do without you handling all the detail work. Keep doing what you're doing. Detail work. Team player. The language of the perpetually undervalued. Her phone rang. Sarah's name appeared on the screen, her college roommate, now a successful marketing director in San Francisco. Maya almost let it go to voicemail, but something made her answer. Maya, perfect timing. I was just thinking about you. How are things? Actually, Maya surprised herself by not saying fine. Actually, they're pretty shitty. A pause. Sarah knew Maya well enough to understand this wasn't her usual response. Talk to me. And Maya did. She told Sarah about the promotion, about Derek's speech thanking everyone except the person who'd trained him, about the bathroom mirror moment, about Jennifer's grandmother's squeaky wheel wisdom. Oh, honey, Sarah said when Maya finished. You're suffering from good girl syndrome. That's not a real thing. It absolutely is. I had it too, until my first boss told me something that changed my life. Want to hear it? Maya took another sip of wine. Hit me, he said. Sarah, you're waiting for someone to notice how hard you work and reward you for it. But the world doesn't work that way. People notice what you make them notice. Everything else is just background noise. That's depressing. No, it's liberating. It means you have control. You just haven't been using it. After they hung up, Maya sat in her living room, wine glass in hand, considering this. Control. Such a foreign concept when you'd spent years believing that good work spoke for itself, that fairness was automatic, that appreciation was earned through virtue alone. She thought about Derek. Derek, who took credit loudly and shared blame quietly. Derek, who treated every small success like a major victory and every setback like a learning experience. Derek, who somehow made his presence feel essential even when his contributions were minimal. Was he wrong, or was she? The question kept her awake until dawn. Chapter 3: The Art of Being Seen. Maya arrived at the office Monday morning with a strange sensation in her stomach, part nausea, part electricity. She'd spent the weekend reading articles about workplace visibility, watching TED Talks about self-advocacy, and crafting what she privately called the plan. The plan was simple in concept, revolutionary in execution. She was going to start acting like Derek. Not exactly like Derek. She had no interest in becoming insufferable, but she was going to borrow his playbook. She was going to make herself impossible to ignore. Her first opportunity came during the 9 a.m. staff meeting. Usually, Maya sat in the back, took notes, and spoke only when directly asked. Today, she chose the seat directly across from Patricia and opened her laptop with purpose. Before we dive into the agenda, Maya said as the meeting began, I wanted to share a quick win from last week. She'd never used the phrase quick win before in her life, but it rolled off her tongue with surprising ease. The Morrison account project came in 2 days ahead of schedule and 15% under budget. I implemented a new workflow system that I think could benefit other accounts. Patricia blinked, clearly surprised by this deviation from Maya's usual silence. That's excellent. Can you send me the details? Already in your inbox, Maya replied, which was true. She'd sent the email at 6 a.m. Derek shifted in his seat. For 3 years, Maya had watched him dominate these meetings with updates about his projects, even when those projects were largely theoretical. Now she understood. He wasn't reporting, he was performing. The meeting continued, but Maya noticed something different. When Patricia asked for volunteers for the new client presentation, she looked directly at Maya. When the conversation turned to process improvements, Patricia referenced Maya's workflow system. After the meeting, as people filed out, Derek approached her with a smile that didn't reach his eyes. Great job on the Morrison account, he said. I was actually going to suggest a similar workflow system myself. Oh, Maya kept her voice light. What were you thinking? Derek's smile faltered. Well, something along the lines of what you did. Maya nodded thoughtfully. I'd love to hear your ideas sometime. Maybe you could put together a proposal and we could compare approaches. For the first time in their professional relationship, Derek looked uncomfortable. He mumbled something about being swamped and walked away. Maya felt a small thrill of victory, followed immediately by a wave of guilt. Was this who she wanted to become? Someone who played games and set traps? But then she remembered Derek's promotion speech, the way he'd thanked everyone for their support, while accepting credit for work he hadn't done. Maybe the real question wasn't whether she wanted to become this person, but whether she could afford not to. Her computer chimed with an email from Patricia. Maya, can you stop by my office this afternoon? I'd like to discuss some upcoming opportunities. Opportunities. When was the last time someone had used that word in reference to Maya's career? She was about to find out. Chapter 4: The Price of Visibility. Patricia's office always smelled like expensive coffee and subtle perfume, a combination that had once intimidated Maya, but now felt merely theatrical. Maya sat across from her manager, spine straight, hands folded, waiting. Maya, I'll be direct, Patricia began, removing her reading glasses with a practiced gesture. I've been thinking about our conversation from earlier this year, about your career development. Maya remembered that conversation differently than Patricia apparently did, but she simply nodded. I appreciate you following up. The Morrison account success got me thinking. You've been handling complex projects for years, but I'm realizing we may not have been. leveraging your capabilities effectively. Leveraging. Maya translated. We've been taking you for granted. I'm glad to hear you're recognizing my contributions, Maya said carefully. There's a new position opening up. Senior account strategist. It would mean overseeing the Peterson Industries portfolio, our biggest client. 15% raise, direct reports, real decision-making authority. Maya's heart jumped, but she kept her expression neutral. What changed your mind about promoting from within? She was thinking of Derek's recent promotion, how Patricia had said the team needed fresh energy. Patricia had the grace to look slightly uncomfortable. We're realizing that sometimes the best candidates are right under our noses. You've proven you can handle the responsibility. The question is whether you want it. 6 months ago, Maya would have said yes immediately, grateful for the chance and eager to prove herself worthy. Today, she heard Sarah's voice. People notice what you make them notice. I'm interested, Maya said, but I have some questions. She spent the next 20 minutes asking about expectations, resources, timeline for decision-making. She asked about budget authority, team composition, and success metrics. She asked questions she'd never thought to ask before, questions that positioned her as someone evaluating an opportunity rather than begging for one. Patricia answered each query with increasing respect in her voice. I'll need a few days to consider the offer, Maya concluded. Of course, take the time you need. Walking back to her desk, Maya felt dizzy with possibility and terror. She'd done it. She'd made herself impossible to ignore. But as she passed Derek's office and saw him on the phone, gesticulating animatedly about some project, she wondered what other prices visibility might exact. Her phone buzzed with a text from her mother. Dad's retirement party is next Saturday. Hope you can make it. He's been asking about your job. Maya stared at the message. Her father, who'd worked 30 years at the same engineering firm, who'd never been promoted past mid-level management despite his expertise, who'd always told her to keep your head down and do good work. What would she tell him now? That his advice had been wrong. That good work was invisible work unless you fought to make it seem? Her computer chimed with an email from Derek. Hey, heard through the grapevine about the Peterson opportunity. Congrats. Always knew you had it in you. Let me know if you want to grab coffee and chat about leadership strategies. Maya read it twice. Parsing the subtext, Derek was nervous. For the first time in their professional relationship, he saw her as competition rather than support staff. She typed back, "Thanks. I'd love to hear your thoughts. How about Thursday?" As she hit send, Maya realized something profound had shifted. She was no longer asking why she wasn't appreciated. She was deciding what appreciation was worth and whether she was willing to pay the price to get it. The answer, she was discovering, was more complicated than she'd expected. Chapter 5. The Education of Maya Chun. Maya's father had always been a man of few words, but at his retirement party, surrounded by 30 years of colleagues, he was practically verbose. Maya watched him accept handshakes and well wishes, his face flushed with pride and something that looked like relief. "Your dad's going to miss this," her mother said, joining Maya by the refreshment table. "He loves that job. Did he ever want to be promoted?" Maya asked. "Move into management." Her mother's laugh was knowing. "Oh, honey, he tried for years. Applied for supervisor positions, team lead roles. But your father, he's not good at selling himself. He always figured his work would speak for itself." Maya felt a chill of recognition. What happened? Eventually he stopped trying. Said he was happy where he was. Her mother's smile was sad. "I think he convinced himself it was true." Across the room, Maya's father was deep in conversation with a younger man she didn't recognize. As she watched, the man pumped her father's hand enthusiastically. "That's Rick Morrison," her mother explained, following Maya's gaze. "He was promoted to department head last year. Your father trained him." The familiar ache settled in Maya's chest. Of course he did. "Maya," her father appeared beside them, Rick in tow. "I want you to meet Rick." "Rick, this is my daughter, the marketing executive I told you about." Executive. Maya didn't correct him, though her current title was Senior Marketing Coordinator. She shook Rick's hand and made polite conversation, but her mind was elsewhere. Later, as they cleaned up paper plates and folded tables, Maya found herself alone with her father. "Dad," she said carefully, "do you ever regret not pushing harder for those promotions?" He paused in his stacking of chairs. "Why do you ask?" Maya told him about the Peterson Industries position, about the changes she'd been making at work, about the strange new world of self-advocacy she'd discovered. Her father listened without interruption, his expression growing more thoughtful as she spoke. "You know what I regret most?" he said finally. "I regret believing that fairness was automatic, that good work guaranteed good outcomes." He looked directly at her. "I taught you to keep your head down because that's what I knew. But maybe I was wrong. You weren't wrong about working hard. No, but I was wrong about staying quiet." He smiled ruefully. "Your generation understands things I'm still learning. Like Rick. He's a good engineer, but he's better at talking about engineering than your old man ever was. And that matters." The drive home was quiet, Maya's mind churning with inherited patterns and learned behaviors. How many women like her were there? She wondered, taught to be modest and helpful, waiting for recognition that would never come unless they demanded it. Her phone rang as she pulled into her apartment complex. Sarah's name lit up the screen. "How's the decision coming?" Sarah asked without preamble. "I'm terrified," Maya admitted. "What if I take this job and I'm terrible at it? What if all this self-promotion was just elaborate self-delusion?" "Maya, listen to me. Do you know what Derek was doing in his old job before he got promoted? Managing the Hendricks account, I think. Right? One account. You've been managing 3 accounts plus covering his mistakes, plus training new hires, plus fixing other people's problems. If Derek can handle being a senior manager, you can handle being a senior strategist." Maya sat in her car, engine off, letting this sink in. "The question isn't whether you're qualified," Sarah continued. "The question is whether you're ready to stop apologizing for being qualified." That night, Maya drafted her acceptance email 3 times before sending it. Each version became shorter, more confident, less apologetic. "Patricia, after careful consideration, I'm excited to accept the senior account strategist position. I look forward to discussing next steps and bringing fresh energy to the Peterson Industries relationship." She hit send before she could second-guess herself. Within an hour, Patricia replied, "Excellent news. Let's schedule time tomorrow to discuss transition planning and your team composition." Your team. Maya was going to have a team. For the first time in months, she slept soundly. Chapter 6. The Ripple Effect. Maya's first week as senior account strategist was like learning to drive in a foreign country. Familiar skills, unfamiliar rules, and the constant fear of causing an accident. Her team consisted of 3 people. James, a recent college graduate with enthusiasm that bordered on manic. Lisa, a cynical mid-career professional who'd been passed over for promotion twice. And incredibly, Derek. The Derek situation was Patricia's idea of elegant problem-solving. "He has institutional knowledge of the Peterson account," she'd explained. "And this way, you're both operating at the same level." Maya suspected Patricia was also curious to see how the dynamic would play out. Their first team meeting was scheduled for Thursday morning. Maya spent Wednesday night preparing an agenda, researching team management techniques, and practicing what she wanted to say. She'd watched Derek run meetings for years, the casual authority, the way he made everything sound like his idea while incorporating input from others. But when Thursday arrived, Maya discovered something unexpected. She didn't want to be Derek. "I know this team structure is new for all of us," she began, looking around the conference table. "I'm not interested in micromanaging or taking credit for your work. What I am interested in is making sure Peterson Industries gets the best possible service while each of you grows professionally." Lisa raised an eyebrow. "That sounds almost too good to be true. What do you mean?" "Most new managers come in wanting to prove something. Make changes for the sake of change, you know?" Maya nodded. "I've been on the receiving end of that. It sucks. Here's what I'm thinking instead. You all know your areas better than I do. My job is to remove obstacles, secure resources, and make sure upper management understands the value you're creating." She noticed Derek shift in his seat. This wasn't the leadership style he employed. "James, you've been handling the digital marketing piece brilliantly, but I know you've been asking for better analytics tools. I'm going to push for budget to get those. Lisa, your process improvements saved us 12 hours last month, but nobody upstairs knows about it. I'm going to change that." James looked like Christmas had arrived early. Lisa looked skeptical but intrigued. "Derek," Maya continued, meeting his eyes directly, "you have relationships with Peterson's senior team that none of us do. I'd like you to take point on strategic communications while I handle the day-to-day operations. It was a smart division of labor that played to Derek's strengths while establishing clear ownership. Derek seemed to recognize this, nodding slowly. "That could work," he said. Over the following weeks, something remarkable happened. The team began functioning like an actual team rather than a collection of individual contributors. James's enthusiasm was channeled into innovative campaigns. Lisa's cynicism became valuable risk assessment. Derek's schmoozing abilities were deployed strategically rather than randomly. And Maya discovered she was good at this, not just managing tasks, but developing people. The breakthrough came during their third week, when Lisa knocked on Maya's office door with an expression Maya had never seen before: excitement. "I have an idea," Lisa said. "It's probably stupid, but try me." Lisa outlined a comprehensive client retention strategy that would proactively address common pain points before they became problems. It was brilliant, detailed, and would require significant buy-in from multiple departments. "Lisa, this isn't stupid. This is the kind of thinking that wins awards." "Really? Really? And I want you to present it to Patricia yourself." "I can't do that. I'm terrible at presentations." Maya smiled. "Lucky for you. I'm good at coaching presentations. Want to practice?" They spent 2 hours that afternoon working through Lisa's pitch. Maya found herself drawing on every terrible presentation she'd ever witnessed, every missed opportunity to showcase good work, every time she'd watched someone else take credit for ideas that deserved recognition. When Lisa presented to Patricia the following week, Maya sat in the back of the room, heart pounding with vicarious nervousness. But Lisa was magnificent, confident, articulate, passionate about her ideas. After the meeting, Patricia approached Maya. "Where did that come from?" "Lisa's always had these insights. She just needed someone to listen." Patricia studied Maya with new interest. "You're developing your people." "I'm trying to. Keep it up. This is exactly the kind of leadership we need more of." Walking back to her office, Maya realized something profound had happened. She'd stopped asking why she wasn't appreciated and started asking how she could help others be appreciated. And in doing so, she'd found a kind of recognition she'd never experienced before: the satisfaction of watching someone else succeed because of support she'd provided. It was better than any promotion. Chapter 7: The Unexpected Alliance. 3 months into her new role, Maya was beginning to understand the difference between being good at your job and being good at leading. The distinction was subtle but crucial. Her job was no longer about being the smartest person in the room, but about making the room smarter. This revelation came into sharp focus during what would later be called the Peterson crisis. It started with an email that arrived at 7:23 a.m. on a Tuesday. Peterson Industries was consolidating their marketing spend and reviewing all vendor relationships. They wanted a comprehensive strategy presentation in 2 weeks. The contract was worth $2.3 million annually. Maya stared at the email, calculating. 2 weeks to create a presentation that would determine not just her team's future, but potentially the entire agency's stability. No pressure at all. Her first instinct was to panic. Her second was to create a detailed project plan. Her third, and this surprised her, was to call Derek. "We need to talk," she said when he answered. "Peterson's situation. My office, 10 minutes. Derek arrived with coffee and a grim expression. "I saw the email. We're screwed, aren't we? Only if we approach this the old way." Maya pulled up a whiteboard. "But I have an idea. It's going to require us to work together more closely than we ever have." Over the next hour, they dissected the Peterson relationship. Derek's schmoozing had indeed paid off. He had insights into the company's internal politics, upcoming challenges, and key decision-makers' preferences. Maya had the operational knowledge and strategic thinking skills to translate those insights into actionable recommendations. "You know," Derek said as they outlined their approach, "I owe you an apology." Maya looked up from her notes. "For what?" "For being threatened by you. For trying to diminish your contributions." He ran a hand through his hair. "I was so busy protecting my territory that I didn't realize we could accomplish more working together than competing." It was the most honest conversation they'd ever had. "I wasn't entirely innocent either," Maya admitted. "I spent years resenting you instead of trying to understand what you were actually good at." Derek laughed. "Fair enough. So what are we good at together?" The answer, it turned out, was extraordinary work. Maya coordinated the team like a conductor leading an orchestra. James dove into market research with renewed focus. Lisa developed process maps that turned complex strategies into clear, actionable steps. Derek leveraged his relationships to gather intelligence and build support. And Maya? Maya discovered she was exceptional at seeing the big picture while maintaining attention to detail, at pushing for excellence while supporting her team's well-being, at challenging ideas while respecting the people who offered them. The presentation came together like a complex puzzle, each piece essential to the whole. But 3 days before the deadline, disaster struck. Peterson moved the presentation up by 2 days and added 3 senior executives to the audience. Maya called an emergency team meeting. "We can do this," she said, looking around the table at 4 exhausted faces. "But it's going to require us to trust each other completely. No ego, no territory, just results." What happened over the next 48 hours was the kind of collaboration Maya had read about in business books but never experienced. James worked through the night refining data visualizations. Lisa streamlined their recommendations into crystal-clear action items. Derek rehearsed his portions until every word was perfect. Maya orchestrated it all while crafting compelling narrative threads that connected each section. They barely slept. They ordered way too much takeout. And somewhere around 3 a.m. on the night before the presentation, as Maya found herself laughing hysterically at one of James's exhaustion-fueled jokes, she realized something remarkable. She was having fun. When was the last time work had felt like this? Challenging but not overwhelming, collaborative but not chaotic, meaningful in a way that transcended paychecks and performance reviews? The Peterson presentation was scheduled for 2 p.m. At 1:45, as Maya watched her team make final preparations, she felt a calm certainty she'd never experienced before a major client meeting. Win or lose, they'd done exceptional work. And regardless of Peterson's decision, she'd discovered something valuable. She was exactly where she was supposed to be, doing exactly what she was meant to do. Now she just had to prove it to the people who mattered most. Chapter 8. The Moment of Truth. The Peterson Industries conference room had the sterile grandeur of corporate power, floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city, a table that could seat 20, and the kind of silence that meant serious money was about to be discussed. Maya sat at the head of the presentation table, her team arrayed beside her like generals before battle. Across from them, 5 Peterson executives waited with expressions ranging from politely interested to openly skeptical. She'd spent the morning in the hotel bathroom, practicing her opening lines and trying to calm her nerves. But now, looking at these faces, Maya felt something unexpected: excitement. "Good afternoon," she began, her voice steady and clear. "3 months ago, Peterson Industries challenged us to think differently about your marketing strategy. Today, we're here to show you what different looks like." The presentation unfolded like a symphony. James's market research painted a picture of shifting consumer behaviors and emerging opportunities. Lisa's process innovations demonstrated how efficiency could scale without sacrificing quality. Derek's relationship insights revealed untapped potential within Peterson's existing customer base. And Maya? Maya wove it all together into a story that transformed data points into human connections, process improvements into competitive advantages, and marketing tactics into business transformation. But the real magic happened during the Q&A session. "This strategy seems resource-intensive," noted Janet Morrison, Peterson's CFO. "How do we justify the investment?" Maya had anticipated this question, but instead of answering immediately, she glanced at Lisa. "Lisa, you've done the most detailed analysis of resource allocation. Would you walk us through the numbers?" For the next 5 minutes, Lisa presented financial projections with the confidence of someone who'd spent weeks understanding every variable. When she finished, Janet was nodding approvingly. "What about implementation timelines?" asked Mark Peterson, the CEO's nephew and head of digital strategy. Again, Maya turned to her team. "James, you've been thinking about this extensively. What's your recommendation?" James outlined a phased approach that balanced quick wins with long-term strategic goals. His enthusiasm was infectious. Mark was taking notes. The questions continued, but Maya noticed something remarkable happening. The Peterson executives had stopped looking at her as the sole source of answers. They were engaging directly with her team members, asking follow-up questions, building relationships. This wasn't just a presentation, it was a collaboration. The final question came from David Peterson himself, the company founder and CEO. "Maya, I have to ask, Your previous team structure seemed more traditional. What changed? Maya considered her answer carefully. What changed was my understanding of leadership. I used to think my job was to have all the answers. Now I know my job is to create an environment where the best answers emerge. David smiled, the first genuine smile she'd seen from him all afternoon. That's refreshing. Most agencies send us one-star performer backed by a supporting cast. You've built a constellation. After the executives left to deliberate, Maya's team sat in stunned silence. Did that actually go as well as I think it did? James whispered. Better, Derek said, shaking his head in amazement. Did you see Janet's face when Lisa was talking about ROI projections? She was impressed. And Mark was practically taking dictation during your timeline presentation, Maya added. Lisa, who'd been quiet since finishing her portion, finally spoke. I can't believe I did that. 3 months ago, I would have rather died than present to a CEO. 3 months ago, none of us were ready for this, Maya replied. But we grew into it together. Her phone buzzed with a text from Patricia. How did it go? Maya started to type, I think it went well, then deleted it. That was the old Maya, hedging and downplaying and apologizing for taking up space. It was exceptional, she typed instead. The team was brilliant. 30 minutes later, they had their answer. David Peterson called Maya directly. Maya, I'll cut to the chase. That was one of the best presentations we've seen in 10 years of working with agencies. We're not just renewing your contract, we're expanding it. And we're requesting that your team handle the account exclusively. Maya closed her eyes, feeling a rush of gratitude and relief and something that might have been pride. Thank you, David. We won't let you down. I know you won't. And Maya, thank you for reminding me what real leadership looks like. After she hung up, Maya looked around at her team, her people, and realized she finally had an answer to the question that had haunted her for so long. Why wasn't she appreciated? Because she'd been waiting for appreciation instead of creating the conditions where everyone could thrive. But that was changing, had changed. And the woman sitting in this conference room, surrounded by colleagues who'd become collaborators who'd become friends, was finally fully appreciated, starting with herself. Epilogue, the recognition revolution. 1 year later, Maya stood in front of a packed auditorium at the annual Marketing Excellence Conference, delivering a keynote speech titled The Recognition Revolution, From Invisible to Indispensable. In the audience sat her parents, beaming with pride. Her father had driven 4 hours to hear her speak, and afterwards he'd tell anyone who would listen that his daughter was changing how business worked. Also in attendance were Lisa, who'd been promoted to Senior Strategy Director, James, who'd launched his own digital marketing consultancy with Maya's encouragement and financial backing, and Derek, who'd been offered a position at Peterson Industries and taken it, finally finding a role that matched his relationship-building strengths. But Maya's favorite attendee was sitting in the third row, a young woman who'd approached her after a panel discussion, asking the question Maya had once asked herself. How do you get noticed when you're good at everything except self-promotion? The first step, Maya had told her, is understanding that recognition isn't something you wait for. It's something you create, for yourself and for others. As she concluded her speech, Maya looked out at the sea of faces and felt a deep satisfaction. She was no longer asking why she wasn't appreciated. She was teaching others how to appreciate themselves and each other. The revolution, it turned out, had to start from within. The question isn't why aren't you appreciated, Maya said to close her speech. The question is, what are you going to do to change that? Not just for yourself, but for everyone who comes after you. The applause was thunderous, but more importantly, it was sustained. In the front row, a woman stood up, then another, until the entire auditorium was on its feet. Maya smiled, remembering that night in her bathroom mirror, the question that had changed everything. She'd found her answer, and now she was helping others find theirs. The invisible thread that connected undervalued people everywhere was becoming visible at last. And Maya Chun, once overlooked, now impossible to ignore, was weaving a new pattern entirely.